Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Kyle Bauer is in San Diego reporting from the Cattle Industry Convention, where he catches up with Joe Schuele with the U.S. Meat Export Federation and Don Close with Rabo AgriFinance. Next, it's our weekly Kansas Soybean update, and then Kyle is back at NCBA with Matthew Costello, also with Rabo AgriFinance. We'll end today with a visit with Craig Uden, Vice President of NCBA. It's all coming up today on Farm Factor. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment is brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Let's join Kyle and Joe Schuele as they talk about the U.S. Meat Export Federation, what it does, how it is funded, and the recent victories the group has enjoyed.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer from San Diego. Have the opportunity to visit with Joe Schuele. He's with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Joe, first, let's talk about what the U.S. Meat Export Federation does.
Well, we are the marketing organization for U.S. beef, pork, and lamb in international markets. So we have marketing programs in really about 80 countries. We have offices in the larger markets such as Japan and Hong Kong, Korea, Mexico City. And we also focus, in addition to marketing, we focus on market access issues, trying to smooth the way for exporters of U.S. meat to be able to reach these markets and keep their product flowing smoothly.
Who supports the U.S. Meat Export Federation? Are you funded by government or commodity groups, or how do you get your funding?
We do receive funding through USDA, through the Market Access Program and the Foreign Market Development Program. We're not a government agency, but we are a not-for-profit organization that qualifies for some of that funding. We're also funded by the Beef Checkoff Program and the Pork Checkoff. And additionally, we get a lot of support from the corn and soybean industries. They see animal agriculture as their largest customer. They feel like meat exports is a big part of their biggest customers' profitability, and so we receive quite a lot of support from those state organizations.
There's been some recent victories.
Yes, we've had some good news lately in some small markets. Israel, for the first time since 2003, is accepting U.S. beef now. Israel's not going to be large volumes. They have very stringent kosher slaughter and handling requirements. But for a couple of U.S. companies that want to make the investment, we think there could be some profitable opportunities there. South Africa also opened for the first time since 2003. That's been quite a battle, and we do think that there's some real opportunities for U.S. beef there. And we received improved access to Colombia. We no longer have an export verification program for Colombia. We'll be able to ship bone-in and as well as boneless product down there, and that's a growing market that we think we'll do well in.
Even though you represent multiple species, we are at the Cattlemen's Convention right now. When it comes to cattle, it's not a simple market. There's a lot of different grades of cattle going a lot of different directions, and you mentioned kosher. We have a halal. It's very complicated.
Well, it sure is, and halal standards aren't all the same for every country. Our largest percentage of our halal beef is bound for Egypt. Egypt is a really outstanding market for U.S. beef livers and other variety meat that really wouldn't command much attention here in the United States. So to be able to send those over to Egypt and get a good return for them is quite good. We also ship halal beef to places like Malaysia and Indonesia. And there's also a good demand for halal beef in markets where it's not necessarily required, but that's what the customer wants. We ship a lot of halal beef to Canada, for example, and the Caribbean. We hope to ship halal beef to China someday soon if we can get access to China, because a lot of the beef that enters China from other sources is halal certified as well.
We're visiting with Joe Schuele. Joe is with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Folks, stay with us. Kyle will be back with Don Close with Rabo AgriFinance.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. A high-energy, drought-tolerant crop, Sorghum only requires 6 inches of water to produce the first bushel. And with its wide uses and easy adaptation, sorghum proves to be a truly indispensable crop. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We're back. Let's join Kyle and Don Close as they discuss the international outlook for the beef market.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Don Close. We're in San Diego at the Cattlemen's meeting. Don's with Rabo AgriFinance. And Don, let's talk about the international outlook for the beef market. How does your company see the future for beef across the world?
We're really seeing the potential for some pretty dynamic changes in the global front. Not only are we seeing an increase in the opportunities in China and Asia, we're seeing big changes because of the fallout from the drought in Australia and New Zealand. Also seeing changing relationships with the bilateral trade agreements that Australia has with Japan, with China for both live cattle and beef, with Korea, that will have some changes in trade flow of Australian product in the future. The other big change we see potentially is development and a larger export of fresh and frozen beef from Brazil, possibly Argentina. So we could see some change up in the who the players are in the future.
Well, with the change in the players, does United States beef have a chance of competing against those countries around the world?
Absolutely, we believe we do. First and foremost, Kyle, is we're still the centerpiece of the world for that quality and food safety of product. So yes, we still hold that opportunity. But still, as we rebuild cattle numbers, see an increase in beef production, we very much believe the U.S. has a big role in that global trade front.
Hope I don't sneak up on you with this question, but it seems to me that we produce a unique product, at least with the United States and Europe, a similar product, or North America and Europe. When we have countries like India and Australia and Brazil producing a product that's much more lean, much smaller carcass, does that actually whet the market for people that as they get more income want more of our product, or does it take away from our demand?
I think you hit on a very key point, and certainly a lot of the global trade is from the views of a U.S. producer or consumer, a leaner and much more commodity-oriented product, and certainly price-driven. That doesn't mean there's not opportunities. Certainly in the role of China, as that market develops, as Chinese consumers become a more sophisticated, more mature palate for beef, does that create the opportunity for the U.S. to have more of a role in selling high-quality, high-finished U.S. beef in the future? We think there's extreme opportunities there down the road.
We're visiting with Don Close. He's with Rabo AgriFinance. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Next up is this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us.
Kansas Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Raylen Phelon, who is a soybean farmer from Melbourne, is joining us. He also serves as president of the Kansas Soybean Association. And Raylen, it's been a busy time here in the past several weeks, and one of the things that was done was a legislative luncheon that took place.
And that's when we go to the State House and we buy lunch for all the legislators. And the purpose of that is so we can build some relationship with our representatives, whether it be a House of Representatives or the senators, and even their staff, too. It's always good to have them come to the luncheon so we can get to know them and they can get to know us. So if there's a bill that comes up that we're needing to talk to or they need some help with, we're there to help them with it.
Raylen, Kansas Soybeans was also one of the commodity groups that hosted the Wake Up to Kansas Agriculture Legislative Breakfast.
We do that every year. Kansas soybean farmers that took the lead on it this year, along with wheat, grain, sorghum, and the corn growers. It's a good time where we get to bring the representatives come in for breakfast, and we can talk about issues or we can talk about just what's going on in our communities, and it's just a real good time for us to get to know each other a little bit better, kind of like the legislative luncheon.
One of the things to talk about, and that would be the Association Commission Division of Labor.
There's a lot of farmers out in the state of Kansas that they see their checkoff dollars come out whenever they sell a load of beans, and they think, well, gee, I'm a member of the Kansas Soybean Association. But that's not really true. It's a very definitive line between the association and the commission. The commission, they cannot use any checkoff dollars to do any lobbying of any kind. And so that's why we make an effort to try to draw members in, buy a membership. It's a very small fee. Actually, there's several seed companies that participate with us. They'll give the farmers bags of seed. They can give this diesel fuel. The association, they do a lot of work on the policy side. Biodiesel is one thing where we work on the checkoff dollars. The association, they also work on farm bills. Another thing, 179 tax incentive, there was a big push towards that, and that was one of our success stories. But what farmers need to know is that the checkoff dollars cannot and are not used for any lobbying efforts. And so that's why it's so important. If you're a soybean farmer out there, spend $70 for a year and become a member of your association. And I encourage anybody, not just the soybean associations, all the commodity groups, because they do a lot of good work, and the dollars are needed to help keep up lobbying efforts and keep policy on the front burner for us.
That is Raylen Phelon from Melbourne, also serving as president of the Kansas Soybean Association. He's been our guest on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. After the break, Kyle talks with Matthew Costello with Rabo AgriFinance about the ongoing drought in Australia and how it affects exports.
Biodiesel made from sustainable resources is diversifying our fuel supply. This year, biodiesel will displace over 1 billion gallons of fossil fuel nationwide. It's making our economy stronger and our communities healthier. It's working here and across America. Get biodiesel going in your community. Visit americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. And I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities. And it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com. This segment brought to you by Hesston Brothers Ag, farmers helping farmers by offering quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia. Call today to protect your crop yield.
Thanks for staying with us. Now let's join Kyle and Matthew Costello.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. San Diego have the opportunity to visit with Matt Costello. He's with Rabo AgriFinance, and he's from Australia, New Zealand, works in the beef industry there, an analyst for the industry. Your area has had the drought that we have been fighting in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely probably following the same ship, if you like, or the direction that the US industry's gone through. We've had very, very challenging drought conditions through our key cattle regions. We've gone through the heavy liquidation of cattle. We're now at the point where the rebuilding has to happen, not necessarily because of improved seasonal conditions, but just because, we've depleted our cattle supply so much.
Well, exports are a large part of the U.S. production, but in Australia it's imperative.
Absolutely. We don't have the domestic market that the US does. We just don't have the consumer base there. So, Australia exports roughly 70% of what they produce, whether it be boxed beef or live trade. New Zealand's as high as 90%. So, we need to be proactive in looking at the overseas export market. So the one positive we have seen with very, very high beef production has been record export. So that has certainly helped ease a lot of the challenges. It's certainly meant we've found a home for our beef, and a lot of that has had to do with the US rebuilding their herd. So that lean beef supply that we've had, coming out at record volumes, it's been fantastic timing that the American industries needed that as well.
But part of that has also come from a strong dollar. Does the dollar affect your market, or are you pretty much in a completely different market than the U.S. is?
Well, the currency's declined a huge amount in the last sort of 2 or 3 years as the Australian economy started to slow and the opposites happened with the US economy improving. So what we've seen is the currency now at around 70 cents versus the US or thereabouts. So from an exporting perspective, that certainly helped cushion in Australian dollar terms, prices, and certainly helped support prices and made us more competitive on the international export markets.
Is the drought continent or nationwide for Australia?
Well, I think in Australia you just get used to farming in very difficult conditions. But what we have seen is the drought in the last 3 years has been particularly severe in Queensland and northern New South Wales. So they're getting towards the more northern states, and that largely has been a 3-year story. Not much rainfall, very limited grass. So producers, unfortunately, for a lot of them have had no choice but to sell stock at very low prices.
We're visiting with Matt Costello. He's with Rabo AgriFinance. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Don't go away. Next, Kyle catches up with Craig Uden, Vice President of NCBA.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population.
The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
I think Blueville does a great job of being educational in nature. They answer people's questions. They do it willingly. So we really appreciate that up close and personal approach that they have and how well they listen to their customers and respond to their needs.
And they're very prompt with things that we need to have done. And so we're very pleased with the service.
It's kind of a one-stop shop for all of your gardening and landscape needs.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. Let's join Kyle and Craig Uden as they take a look at the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer from San Diego visiting with Craig Uden. Craig is the Vice President of NCBA, will be the President next year. Craig, tell us just a little bit about your cattle operation.
We're a commercial cattle feeding operation in central Nebraska. I've got 4 partners and do a lot of commercial cattle feeding for ranchers and just basically cattle people throughout the United States. Then I also have cow-calf operations right there, located right around there. So we stay pretty busy, and it's kind of a gate-to-plate mentality for my portion of the operation, because I'm going to raise them to feed them and try to make that all, take a quality product, make a quality product on the plate after we grow it. So
taking a leadership role in National Cattlemen's or any national organization takes a large time commitment for yourself. Why do you choose to do that?
Well, I've been coming to this convention for 30-some years, and I always took back more than I ever gave. And if you're going to stay in this business, and the people that you find the progressive people that are always thinking outside the box and moving the needle forward, and that's what it takes to stay in business, no matter what business. But this one, is highly capitalized, and you got to be on the cutting edge. So that's mainly why I do it. And as I got older and was able to, I can give back now.
As you look toward the next year, and of course the year after that when you'll be president, what sort of issues have the biggest concern?
Right now, we're really working on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and that's very vital to us right now. Main reason is we're already behind on the trade with Australia. They went and did a bilateral with Japan, which is our largest trading partner, and consequently, we suffered. We were $100 million short last year, and consequently, our 38% tariff really creates a problem for us to move, and couple that with a high dollar. It's we have to have trade. Global trade is a necessity if we're going to grow this industry 2% and maintain these kind of prices. And now we come out of drought, we increase this herd. We need to keep that eye on the ball. That we have to have that international marketing.
And truly, the U.S. beef is unique in the world, that it can demand some higher price, but when you see tariffs like that, it's hard to be competitive.
It really is hard to be competitive. And, we give them a higher quality beef, and they consume a lot of products that we don't necessarily consume here. I mean, it's just not that they take half of the carcass that we take. They take a lot of things we don't. It's not a lot different than we have to import constantly because we are a ground beef nation. I mean, we consume about 56% of our beef as ground beef, but we don't get 56% off of a beef carcass. So consequently, it is a global issue, and people here understand it's a lot of there is a global aspect.
We're visiting with Craig Uden. He is the Vice President of NCBA. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor. We're here every Tuesday on Ag AM in Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com.